It is February, the shortest, coldest, dreariest month of the year. And right in the middle of that, we have Valentine's Day, proving once again that humanity doesn't know what it's doing. You don't have a romantic holiday in the middle of February? What were they thinking? Yo, babe, as soon as we finish cleaning up from all this snow and sleet and freezing rain, and you peel off them 17 layers of clothes, I'm going to show you a night of magic. It's stupid. The whole holiday is stupid, and I hate it. And that may sound harsh, but I'm going to tell you some stories of my pursuit of love through the years, and then you can decide for yourself whether I'm overreacting. Now, to begin with, we go back to when I was a little kid. Now, at that age, boys are supposed to think that girls are gross and icky, right? Oh no, not me. As long as I can remember, women, best things ever! In first grade, there was this girl I really liked. Her name was Erin, and I remember thinking, Erin, that rhymes with arrow, like Cupid's arrow. Erin, like an arrow through my heart. Yeah, I know it was stupid. What kind of poetry were you writing at age 6? And so I tried to talk with her, tried to make her laugh, tried to impress her, but she just never knew I was alive. And that was the first lesson I learned about love. Just because I like someone doesn't mean they're going to necessarily acknowledge my existence. Kind of a harsh thing to learn at that age, but there you go. Now we jump ahead a few years, and I'm in high school. And for a little background, this is basically what I looked like in high school. A little more hair, a lot more acne, but that was it. Everyone got it? Good. My class was on a field trip. And on the way home, we stopped at a Burger King. And I had ordered a hamburger, french fries, and a drink. I'm sitting at a table alone because, again, hey. And this girl in my class walks up to me and says, quote, I really want your body bad. Unquote. To be fair, I don't think I really nailed the impersonation. She definitely had a much more feminine voice. Now, you might think, being a teenage boy, hormones a-raging, that when a young, attractive woman says something like that to me, well, I'm going to throw the table aside and start tearing my clothes off right there. I say unto thee, nay. I just looked at her and said, yeah, sure. And went back to eating my hamburger, my fries, and my drink, because I knew that stuff like that did not, does not, and would not happen to me. I was proud I hadn't fallen for whatever shenanigans she had up her sleeve. In fact, the only regret that I do have about how I handled that situation is that I did not question her. Like, she was in my class, she knew I was smart. What was her plan? Did she seriously think that my fun bitch would say, did you hear that? She wants us! And then make me go along with this lunacy? I don't know, and that still bothers me a little bit. But that was the second lesson I learned as far as love. If a woman does show interest in me, it is most likely as a joke. Another harsh lesson to be sure, but again, there we are. Now we jump ahead a few years. I am out of high school. I have a job. And a woman comes into where I'm working, and we have a nice conversation. She leaves, and my coworkers look at me and said, man, you really needed to cool it with the flirting. I said, flirting. I was flirting? And they said, oh yeah. I said, good to know. I'll take your word for it. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't think anything else about it. Until a few days later when one of those coworkers comes up to me and says, hey, I ran into her. Told her what a good guy you are. Got her phone number. Give her a call. Oh, sweet Moses. How would I describe my reaction to the situation? If you were to walk up to me and say, tomorrow morning at 9:47 a.m., I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to shoot you in the leg, I'd be able to handle that better. I know what to do for a gunshot. Apply pressure, get a bandage. If you don't have any bandages, tear some strips of cloth to make a bandage. Keep the leg elevated. If it's really bleeding bad, get a tourniquet until help arrives. I have no idea how to talk to women. That earlier conversation was a fluke. So, after a mild panic attack, I do call her. It's the single most awkward phone conversation I've ever had in my life. Every single topic that came up, we were the exact opposite. She was from a really big family, really close with all of them. I'm from a pretty small family, haven't seen or spoken with many of them in years. She was very religious. I once came up with the theory that God created the universe while he was a teenager as part of some school project, and now it's just in a box on a shelf in a closet somewhere. Scientists have debated what may bring the universe to an end. I'm terrified it's going to be his mom saying, "What are you doing still holding on to that? It's just collecting dust. Get rid of that. Grow up. Get a job." That's not going to fly in church now, is it? So that was my next lesson I learned about love. If, on the off chance there is some interest, genuine, there still needs to be some common ground, otherwise it's not going to work. And I notice some of you are probably thinking it right now, but Jason, opposites attract. Yeah, I use rare earth magnets for hobby projects. Some of them are strong enough that where I hold them apart and let them go, they would hit each other hard enough to shatter each other. So opposites attracting, not always a good thing. Also, if we are talking about magnetism, it does stand to reason that there are those that repel. I am now firmly convinced that were I to run at a woman full speed, by the time I got within, say, 3 feet or so, the repelling force would be so strong as to launch her skyward, like a catapult. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but I really, really want to try. You know, for science. So now we jump ahead a little more. I meet this girl, she's really pretty, but I'm learning the lessons. And I figure, before I say anything to her, I'm going to go check her out on Facebook. I know that sounds creepy. Wait until the end before you judge. I look up her page, and the first picture I see is a picture of her at like a Comic-Con. And she is dressed like the Baroness from G.I. Joe. And standing next to her is a guy dressed like Cobra Commander. And I thought, that's interesting. That's a topic of conversation. So the next time I see her, I say, "Hey, saw that picture of you on Facebook. Cool Baroness costume." "See, y'all thought it was going to be way creepier than that, didn't you?" "Ha, surprise!" She says to me, "Oh, thanks. My boyfriend is Cobra Commander." And I thought to myself, I watched the cartoons, read the comics. I don't ever remember the Baroness dating Cobra Commander. Why would she do that anyway? First of all, he's always wearing that mask. For all we know, he's hideously scarred underneath, like Snake Eyes, although Snake Eyes is a much cooler character. Plus, he has that grating voice, just gets on the nerves. Another point for Snake Eyes, he can't even speak. Plus, Snake Eyes has the same fashion sense. He's a ninja. She should really be dating Snake Eyes. And at this point, I have this voice in my head that loves to point out when I'm being stupid about something, and he cannot take any more of this. And he yells, "What she means is that she, the woman in the picture dressed like the Baroness, is standing next to her boyfriend, the guy in the picture dressed like Cobra Commander. Do you get it now, jackhole?" Oh, that does make a lot more sense. And that's how I learned about the boyfriend defense. Now, that happens when a woman senses that I am interested in her and she casually mentions how she has a boyfriend, a fiance, a husband, what have you. That is her way of saying, "Hey, I already found someone better than you. Walk away, monkey boy." It is genius in its simplicity and very effective. Although I will say some of you women have like a hair trigger on that thing. "Good morning. Yeah, my boyfriend thinks it's a nice morning also." Whoa, 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 whoa! Pump the brakes there, honey bunches of oats, you're going too fast. So I keep learning the lessons of my failures. And I finally think I've got it right because I meet a woman and she is smart. She's funny. We share similar interests. She's gorgeous. And it's been a few months. She hasn't mentioned a boyfriend. And I start to feel this weird emotion, hope. And I think to myself, I'm going to ask her out. And I like to think I would have been smooth about it. I would like to think I would have gone up and said, "We've had a lot of conversations. I really enjoy your company. I'm just wondering if we could spend a little more time together and see if anything happens." In reality, I probably would have panicked and said, "I want to go to a movie or something." We will never know, because on the day I go to ask her out, the first thing she says to me is like, "Oh, my boyfriend taught me how to play Dungeons and Dragons last night. It was awesome." Good to know. Good to know. As I walked away a little bit later, I looked up and I looked down. Because I don't know if it was God, the devil, angel, demon. I don't know who was responsible for dropping that particular anvil on my particular head at that particular time. But you got to give it to him. You got to recognize game. As far as comedic timing goes, that was exquisite. You couldn't have written it any better. And the Dungeons and Dragons thing, that was a nice touch. That was basically saying, "Hey, you're a nerd. She would have been perfect for you." Now, normally at this point, after a failure like this, I would have curled into a ball and cried for a bit. But this time I didn't. This time I said, wait a minute. Girls dump guys all the time. So you know what? I'm going to be patient. I am not going to give up. Eventually, she's going to dump him. And then she's going to realize that I'm a good guy. And then she's going to see that I'm the one that she should be with. And then she moved to Arizona. And I don't go for that. I don't go for that whole playing hard to get stuff. Oh no! If you want my kisses, you should at least be in the same state. I was so delusional, I thought to myself, well, Arizona isn't that far away. And the voice in my head said, really? You don't think Arizona's that far away? It's like, yeah, I guess it probably is. Come on, let's take a look at the map. No, I don't want to look at the map. It'll be easy. Like, let's imagine this is Pennsylvania, right? And then, over here, way over here, that's Arizona. Let's count how many states are in between you now. I don't want to do that. Yeah, that takes too long. How about we just count how many states are farther away? Because that's only Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Hawaii, Alaska. Look, we're already done. It would be difficult for her to be farther away before she hits ocean. Hey, check it. Canada, Mexico, Cuba. Foreign countries are closer to you than she is right now. And at that point, I learned this lesson. All things considered, when it comes to me meeting someone, I am just garbage at it. But I have one more card to play. Because I am a nerd, we live in a digital age, let's try online dating. I signed up for this website because they advertise, and apparently I'm gullible. But before you use their service, you have to take a test. They call it a relationship questionnaire, but come on, it's a test, because there are right and wrong answers. And I'm answering the questions as thoroughly and honestly as I can, which is difficult because some of them are just stupid. One of them asked me how I felt about eating. Not eating out, not fine dining, just eating in general. And I had to think to myself, am I very interested, somewhat interested, neither interested nor disinterested, somewhat disinterested, or very disinterested in eating? 24 pages of questions like that. I know, I counted. And at one point, a little box pops up and says, write something you are thankful for. And I honestly wrote, I'm thankful I got this far into the test before I realized there was an essay question. I finished bearing my soul to this website, and I hit submit, confident that science and technology would find a woman who would want to be in a relationship with me. By round of applause, how many think it went well? How many think it went poorly? You know foreshadowing when you hear it, don't you? This is the message that popped up on my screen. We're very sorry, but our matching system cannot predict good matches for you. We use each person's response to our relationship questionnaire to predict the pairings of individuals that are highly likely to result in satisfying long-term relationships. Unfortunately, based on responses to our questionnaire, we occasionally find situations where our matching system cannot identify high-quality, compatible matches. And this has happened in your case. Please understand that this is a result of our matching process and in no way reflects on you as a person or your ability to be in a happy relationship. I read that message and I laughed for 5 minutes. Took it into work the next day, held it high and said, "Ha! Undateable!" Oh, my coworkers gave me a mountain of grief over that. "What did you do wrong?" I said, "I answered everything honestly." They said, "Well, what distance did you put the look for?" I said, 25 miles. They said, 25 miles? Look at you. You know you're going to have to go farther than that. I said, "Yeah, true, but in a relationship, she should come to me every now and then, right? And I think if we've learned anything over the last 10 minutes or so, it's that this is not worth more than a 25-mile drive. It's just not. It's just not." But they kept giving me grief over it. So I did email the company to find out what went wrong. This is the response. "The message that you had received is used to notify people who fall outside the range of those that we can accurately match with our service." Good to know. Now I'm sure that many of you at some point in your life have felt unlovable. I very much doubt that any of you have had it scientifically proven. And so that led me to the last lesson about me searching for love, which is don't. No. Just don't. I'm not good at it. Certain people are just not meant to do certain things, and that's fine. There's no shame in that. Like, I'm never going to play in the NBA, all right? So I'm not going to practice my dribbling. I'm not going to work on my free throws. I'm not going to worry about what I look like in shorts. Apologies to anyone who imagined that just then. So that's why I have a problem with Valentine's Day. And hey, if you're in a happy, loving relationship, fine, dandy, I'm glad for you. Just keep that to yourself. Good night.